I just got back from a lot of traveling, and if my voice is a little off today, I apologize. It's a cold that I caught along the way, and it seems to be hanging with me. Megan and I went out to San Diego. I spoke at Social Media Marketing World, and then we went off to NAB in Las Vegas, and we got to see all of the cool new toys they have for creators and broadcasters, some of the craziest new black magic cameras that are available, and the convention was just massive. I mean, there was so many different new products out there that were beyond the kinds of things I would ever use. And one of the really cool things was, I'm used to going to events where people might shout out my name and say, "Hey, Daniel," but this was a little different. Nobody called me Daniel. I kept getting people coming up to me and screaming, "DaVinci Resolve for noobs," which was a new experience, but it showed me how powerful the series we've been making here, trying to help creators learn how to use DaVinci Resolve and become better editors using the software. DaVinci Resolve literally released version 20 while I was on the plane, and I landed to find out they had a brand new version available. But being surrounded by all that equipment and all that technology and all these new advances, one of the things that really came to mind was something that I think holds a lot of creators back. If you're a video editor out there trying to improve your skills and become a better video editor, I need to make this very clear. You do not need to learn everything to be a great video editor. You might see all these great cameras out there and all these new features in the software that you're using, or all kinds of different things that are available to us as creators and video editors. But sometimes you get overwhelmed by all these new products and you feel like you have to know everything. Even in DaVinci Resolve itself, it's got 7 different pages, and it's basically 4 pro-level video editing software in one. DaVinci Resolve used to be a color correcting tool, and then they built the edit page on top of that so that you could also edit videos inside of Resolve. And then later on, they went on to buy Fusion, which was a separate compositing software, and they put that inside of Resolve, and they bought Fairlight, which was its own standalone digital audio workstation, and they put that in there too. So trying to learn everything in Resolve is a bit like trying to learn Adobe Premiere Pro, After Effects, Audition, Lightroom, Blender, Pro Tools. It's like trying to learn all of them at once and thinking you have to learn them first before you can really get going. We had Darren Moston on the channel not that long ago, and he's a professional colorist. That's what he does for a living. He colors for some of the biggest broadcasters in the world, and even he said, "I really don't know how to use the Fusion page."
Your audience might find this quite refreshing, but I open up Fusion, I just close it down straight away. I have no idea what's going on in there.
When you start looking at all the available features and LUTs and techniques and different Fusion nodes and new things that you can do with the software, sometimes you start piling that onto yourself thinking, "I need to know how to do this or I'm not a good editor." And that ends up making you feel stuck. I know because I've been through this myself. There was a time in my life where I thought I had to learn how to do really fancy edits, because the fancier my edit would look, the more impressed people would be, and they would think I'm a better video editor. But the reality is that's actually not true. They say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. And a lot of times what we'll do is we'll see somebody else do something very cool in a video edit, and then we'll decide we want to learn how to do that too, and not really even thinking about if it makes sense for the kind of content we want to make. I would see something that someone else did and I'd go, "That looked really cool. I want to figure out how to do that." And I would spend all sorts of time learning something that was probably a little too advanced for where I was, which is cool because that's how you grow, by trying new things. But I was learning things that really weren't going to be things I used every day in a normal edit. You're not typically going to see spaceships flying in and explosions and me removing the background or trying to make myself fly like Superman.
Give me a minute, would ya? This is not easy.
Those are cool tricks, but that's all they are, is tricks. And what you'll find as a video editor is that there are a lot more important things that really make a great video. Some of the simplest things get overlooked all the time, like the ability to import and organize your footage, figuring out what you need for your project, and making sure you have all of those things available and in a way that you can find them and utilize them quickly. Another thing I see people wrestle with is transitions. A lot of times I'll have people asking me, "Daniel, how do I do this crazy transition?" And the reality is I don't think crazy transitions usually help a video. In fact, I think they heard it. In the middle of a video where you might be trying to connect with someone through the camera, if all of a sudden the transition is a really crazy swirl or motion, that can be really distracting, and that can actually hurt your ability to connect with people. That's why in a lot of movies, you'll actually see very simple transitions. Being able to look at footage and cut with intention, meaning knowing exactly where you're putting your footage together so that you're creating a flow, is so much more important than what transition you're throwing in between the cuts. I actually tell people, if you're going to use transitions, use them sparingly and try to pick ones that aren't going to distract from what you're trying to create. I also see people get really wrapped up in color grading and color correction. And the reality is, if you spend the time in production to get the right lighting and get the right look and set your camera up in a way that it's going to capture the kind of look that you want in your footage, then you're not spending a lot of time in your project trying to figure out how to fix something that really should have been fixed in production, not in post-production. A lot of the color grading I do for most of my content is very fast, very simple, just dialing in a quick look, making sure it's balanced, and then I move right back into the edit. Footage that was shot really well with simple color correction is often some of the best looking footage you're gonna have. Another thing that I think video editors should pay attention to become great editors is learning how to layer with intention. In almost every project, you'll have some sort of base or main layer footage. And when you start stacking things on top of that, always think about what those things do to add to the experience. If there's text and objects and things flying all around, sometimes that can actually make the viewing experience worse. I know we tend to live in this fast-paced world where we think everything has to be constantly moving, but a lot of times what gets lost is the idea of serving the needs of the viewer and serving the story. That should be the most important thing. Trying to communicate the things effectively to the people you're trying to reach is so much more important than how many fancy things you might have going on during the video edit. I think more editors, if they're video content creators, need to spend more time developing better production habits. It's sort of like a recipe. If you start with really bad ingredients, you're never going to get a great result. If you spend most of your video editing time trying to fix bad audio or fix bad video that has issues like it's out of focus or the color is all wrong or it's overexposed and problematic, what you end up doing is spending all of your time trying to fix problems that you probably should have fixed during the production phase. I think one of the things that makes a video editor great is understanding how to work smarter and not harder. There's a lot of times that your project might call for extra things that it needs to create the kind of scope and scale that you're trying to create. But think about those things ahead of time, what you might need for your project. There's a lot of times where I might need specific footage and I'll go out and set up in certain areas just to capture that B-roll or that footage that I need for a certain shot. There's also a lot of times I'll sit there and I'll spend time making Foley or sound effects that I might want to use in a video edit. Hello? But that's one thing you want to think about. Not everybody has the ability to get a perfect shot they might need for their video. You might need some tropical beach or you might need some city environments, and those may not make sense for you to go and try to film yourself. This is where, for me personally, I'll usually end up using an asset house, and I'll start licensing things that I need for my video edit. A lot of you have probably heard me talk about story blocks. That's one of the places where I'll get the things I use inside of my videos, like the music, the B-roll video, some of the templates I use for DaVinci Resolve, titles, things like that. And they're actually today's sponsor. The reason I like to use story blocks is because their subscription pricing is really straightforward. One price gets you access to all the things you need. There's no limits to how many high-quality videos you can download or how many pieces of music you can grab or how many DaVinci Resolve templates that you can download and use. One price gets you access to everything you need and as much of it as you need. But I personally choose Storyblocks because with the trend of AI, a lot of the things that are out there are created with AI, and Storyblocks doesn't do that. All of their content comes from real creators, real artists from diverse communities, and it's the kind of stuff that for me fits my organic workflow. If you are interested in checking out Storyblocks, I'll leave a link down below and you can check it out for yourself. But one of the things I really want to focus on here is making sure that you understand that you do not have to do it all. The most important tool that you have is this thing right up here, your mind. A good idea, a simple understanding of the foundational editing skills, and then the right tools to make those things happen, can bring anything that you have in your head to life. Because just like a great movie, telling a story is what really matters. And connecting with people who might share some of the same passions you have can be so much more powerful than any of the other fancy things that some editors are relying on to carry their videos. Now listen, I'm still working my way through version 20 of DaVinci Resolve, and there's a bunch of new features. But as always, don't let them overwhelm you. And I'm going to do my best to not let them overwhelm me. I'm going to learn them as I go and figure out which ones are right for my workflow. And those are the ones that I'll lean on. And the other ones that I don't think I really need to learn, I won't learn. I can avoid those and worry about them later if I get to a point where I need those features for my video editing workflow. Keep it simple. Keep it honest. And if you ever have any questions about how to edit video with DaVinci Resolve, don't be afraid to shout them out in any comment section of any one of my videos. I'm always going to do my very best to help you learn how to edit as I continue how to learn how to become a better editor myself. Keep creating. Peace.